This video, released by the U.S. Coast Guard, shows the interception of a narco submarine. A Marine patrol aircraft was patrolling near the Pacific coast when it spotted the submarine's reflection underwater. It immediately alerted the U.S. Coast Guard, and within minutes, 2 boats and a helicopter arrived. The video shows the Coast Guard crew approaching the submarine, but the smugglers inside were apparently unaware. Eventually, officers forcibly opened the latch and arrested the smugglers. This narco submarine contained 3,000 kilograms of cocaine, which was being secretly transported from South America to the USA. It was one of 200 narco submarines captured by authorities between 2006 and 2025. But this was only one that was captured. Thousands of submarines transport illegal drugs into the USA every year, and no one gets to know about it. How do narco submarines work? Why are they so difficult to catch? And where are they manufactured? Welcome to Bright Facts Hub. Before the video starts, we have a small request. Please press the subscribe button because many people watch our videos, but forget to subscribe and like. Viewers, drug smuggling is a practice that every country has established various agencies to combat and has tried innovative methods to catch drug smugglers. But despite all these efforts, we see that it has still not been completely stopped in the USA and many European countries. The biggest reason for this is that major drug cartels always try to keep themselves 2 steps ahead of anti-drug forces. South America has been a stronghold of the illegal drug mafia since its inception, thanks to its unique climate, which is perfect for the growth of the coca plant. Currently, Colombia produces the most cocaine in the world. 90% of the cocaine seized in the USA is said to originate from Colombia. Next comes Peru and then Bolivia. These 3 South American countries are considered the Golden Triangle or Indian Triangle of the cocaine industry. 99.5% of the world's cocaine is produced in these 3 countries. Now, various methods have been used to transport these drugs from South America to Central America and Europe. In the 1960s, when restrictions were less stringent, people would transport them in their luggage or in normal passenger planes. As restrictions increased, the use of foreign aircraft began. However, because of the high profit margins in smuggling, especially if the product was illegal, drug mafias also began using small Cessna aircraft during the 1980s. These aircraft were flown from Colombia and landed on small islands in the Caribbean, such as Norte, or on secret airstrips in the jungles of Central America. This was the time when Pablo Escobar's Madango cartel controlled 80% of the world's cocaine market. Cunning partners like Carlos Leder turned islands like Norris into smuggling hubs, where these small vessels operated. Gradually, with improved radar systems, law enforcement authorities began intercepting these smaller vessels. Then, the cartels began using speedboats. These were not ordinary speedboats but were built with specially modified engines. These drug-laden boats were then driven to Caribbean islands. Before the Coast Guard could spot them, they would have done their job and returned. However, the United States and its allies increased maritime patrols along the Caribbean and Pacific coasts and installed advanced radar systems, making it easier to track even these modified speedboats. By the 1990s, air and sea routes for large drug shipments to the USA had been blocked. This pressure led to engineering innovation. They needed technology that could evade radar, remain invisible to marine patrols, and, most importantly, transport as many drugs as possible. Using engineering expertise, the cartels decided to build submarines made of fiberglass, which filters their radar signature. While boats had limited capacity, these submarines could transport 5 to 10 tons of drugs. These submarines, known as Narco Submarines, were so successful that for many years, anti-narcotics police remained unaware of the route through which drugs were being smuggled into Central America. This trend, which began in the 1990s, was exposed when the first narco submarine was seized in 2006, nearly 16 years later. U.S. Coast Guard personnel were on aerial patrol about 160 kilometers off Costa Rica's Pacific coast when they spotted 3 plastic pipes protruding from the water. It was a 50-foot-long narco submarine made of wood and fiberglass. The U.S. Coast Guard said they had heard about it, but this was the first time they had seen one. But where do drug mafia engineers build these submarines? What facilities do they have inside? How far can they travel? And why do smugglers sink such expensive submarines themselves? It's worth noting that a total of 200 submarines have been seized since 2006. However, authorities believe that many more remain undetected. There are 4 types of narco submarines. The first is the low-profile vessel, also known as an LPV. It doesn't actually submerge completely underwater, but rather, most of it remains underwater with a small tip protruding from the water. It's approximately 14 meters long and has a sea-like color, making it resistant to detection. In terms of capacity, it can transport 7.7 tons of cocaine. Authorities say it often operates on the short route from South America to Central America. The second narco submarine is the transatlantic semi-sub. It's similar to the first LPV model, but more modern and significantly larger, measuring over 20 meters long. It has 3 compartments, one for the engine, one for the crew, and one for cargo. It has a total fuel capacity of up to 20,000 liters, making it easily capable of traveling long ocean journeys, such as from Brazil to Europe. These submarines don't have GPS. Instead, smugglers inside use a compass to navigate. The third is the Snow-Kill sub. This model resembles a real submarine capable of being completely submerged. It's 24 meters long and features a fiberglass body. When in operation, only a snow pipe remains above the surface, providing air for the diesel engine and oxygen for the crew. It also has ballast tanks that can sink it deeper if it senses danger. No such submarine has ever been captured. And fourth is the most sophisticated electronic submarine. This is the most advanced and modern type of narco submarine. It boasts a 12-meter-long fiberglass body and no crew inside. It doesn't have a diesel engine, instead using batteries to power 2 electric motors. Being electric, it's extremely silent, and sonar scanners can't detect it. Its range is only 60 kilometers. Therefore, it is towed by a rope tied to a larger ship. When the Coast Guard arrives, the rope is unhooked, and it hides underwater. Authorities say the submarine has never been caught in action. Only models of it have been found in the jungle, which has led to information about it. These submarines have a small washroom for the crew, sleeping quarters, and energy bars for food and drink. Now, let's find out where such advanced submarines are built. These submarines are mostly constructed in shipyards hidden in the dense jungles of South America. These are so remote that reaching them is impossible. And because of the dense forest, these shipyards cannot be seen even with the help of satellites, drones, or helicopters. According to one estimate, building a submarine costs up to $1 million. But this cost is insignificant compared to the value of 10 tons of cocaine, which is worth up to $400 million. That's why they're designed for one-time use only. Once the mission is complete, the submarine is released and allowed to sink into the ocean, ensuring the Coast Guard can never find it, nor can its creators be traced. Even if the crew inside senses the Coast Guard approaching, they would immediately open the emergency valve, deliberately sinking it, and then escape, leaving no evidence behind. Before 2008, the law in the USA stipulated that if a narco submarine sinks, the Coast Guard would assume the crew is drowning and rescue them. Because the submarine sinks thousands of meters below the ocean floor, destroying all evidence, it becomes difficult to prosecute. However, after 2008, this law was changed. Still, smugglers sink submarines in such a condition because they know that the lack of evidence will make it easier to argue in court and potentially reduce their sentences. This is why most narco submarines are destined to sink, whether they make a successful delivery or are captured. Very rarely have the Coast Guard captured a narco submarine in action. But the question arises, where did the authorities get all the information about the narco submarines you see in this video? In 2022, Oscar Moreno Ricardo, a key figure in the smuggling world and nicknamed the King of Narco Submarines, was captured. He wasn't a smuggler, but his primary job was the construction of these submarines. Later, it was revealed that Oscar had also previously transported cocaine via speedboats. However, over time, he established himself as a designer and engineer, building sophisticated and stealthy vessels for cartels. He built vessels for major criminal groups in Mexico and Colombia. Oscar Moreno Ricardo usually resided in his secret shipyard in the jungle. But in January 2022, he went to the Colombian city of Medellin to crack a deal and was arrested there. The operation involved the Colombian National Police and Army, as well as officials from the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration. The arrest of master builders like Oscar is certainly a major victory for law enforcement, but in reality, it's just the tip of the iceberg. Despite every successful operation, experts believe that thousands of tons of cocaine are still reaching Central America and Europe through